Panzer Strategy is a classic hexagonal World War II war game which has now been packed with 3D graphics thanks to the Unreal 4 engine. It's very similar to Panzer Corps, but I don't believe that they're officially associated. That being said, Panzer Strategy retains many of the gameplay features and feel. It also retains the historical accuracy that's so important to the Panzer Corps series. There's a huge selection of real-life military equipment and battle skills available, more than 100 customizable units in fact. The battle scenarios, maps, vehicles and weaponry, everything has been carefully recreated in accordance with military archives. The game was developed and produced by Russian-based Starni games company, founded in 2013. Now, the only other game that I'm aware of that has been created by this development team is Star Ghosts. I know nothing about that game whatsoever, but feel free to go and check that out. The game released on the 31st of August 2018, and at the moment, on Steam at least, it will set you back £23.79. Now, that's a lot for a game of this type, especially when you consider the issues this game currently has. So the new features included, and pretty much this is the unique selling point of this game, is the free camera, which now allows you to experience the battlefield from a bird's eye view and from a close-up view. All of the vehicles and equipment are all very nicely modelled, and there are some new units and new gameplay features included as well. HQ is a special type of unit which is mobile, and it gives your troops nearby abilities or boosts, if you will, slight minor power-ups. You can also capture the enemy's headquarters and gain an edge on the battlefield. Also, there's a new supply management system included. Your army will need a constant supply of ammo and fuel. Now you can expand your supply route by controlling important areas and the roads and or railways between them. You can also use this to cut enemy delivery lines and exhaust their forces. Each unit have a number of attachments and skills and upgrades that you can include, and this gives them new abilities, weapons and tools. Now I have to say straight off the bat that this game looks and plays brilliantly. It retains the original style and feel really well, but it expands upon it as well. It is played, as the title suggests, from the German perspective of World War II. The campaigns have 3 well-known historical commanders for you to pick from, each with their own unique abilities and perks.
The Tank King, Heinz Guderian, the brilliant Erich von Manstein, and the fearless Erwin Rommel.
The game itself is methodical. It's a turn-based strategy. It's like RTS, but with a lot more time to think. This gameplay style has been around for ages, but never before has it been so nice to look at. I like the whole environment, and the experience is really quite immersive. Now, some people I've seen complaining about the difficulty of the enemy, but personally I think it's just fine. If there was no challenge at all, then what is the point?
The enemy has captured our train station. Transportation of troops and supplies has been disrupted. You need to better protect your infrastructure.
Ultimately, you need to use your units properly, make wise decisions, and you will win. If you're impatient, you will lose. It is so important to look after your long-term units. They're the ones that will stay with you throughout the entire campaign and will rank up. It is the reserves which are bought in cheap and used in order to soften the enemy for your main units, which you don't need to care about quite so much. There is a lot of data and information about all units, and at first it's quite a lot to process, but the supply system works really well and is a viable and effective target in order to weaken a stronger enemy. Your supplies basically come from your main warehouse or warehouses depending on the map, and by gaining control of railways and roads you effectively move the front line one warehouse at a time.
You have captured an enemy supply depot. You can now use it to supply our troops.
Now this introduces some great tactical play opportunities. Cutting off supply renders any tank an easy target, and warehouses can also be damaged. I'm not sure if they can be targeted directly, but I know that attacking a unit which is located there does cause some damage. I also think the game logic could benefit from some slight tweaking. Like driving straight up to a unit that I know is there already, having already scouted it out, the game will shout out, "Surprise!" and you will take extra damage. Also, I've noticed that the defender seems to always get the first shot in, which in my opinion is quite often wrong. Tactically, this game is vastly superior in that regard. I do wish that the front line was a bit more visible, like there was a physical line perhaps, or the option to turn that on or off, because the game does ping about a bit, and with so many units on the battlefield, it can get quite confusing. There is no such thing as cover at the moment. Hiding in trees, shot blocked by units or pillboxes or buildings. The game as it is works fine, but there's a lot of ways in which it could, I think, be a bit better. I just guess they haven't really considered the options that they've got available to them. Now, I've already mentioned the new unit, the HQ unit. This is a mobile HQ unit that allows units close by to receive a power-up or boost at certain times. If it is destroyed though, it is instantly game over. Now this is quite unique, and okay, it kind of works, but personally, I would like the option to have a static HQ, you know, for realism purposes. Also, often when it is destroyed, the game just ends without showing you who, why, or where the unit got destroyed. So there really are a lot of units: infantry, air force, navy and tanks. If you lose an airfield with planes stored within it, then you lose those airplanes, which is great. Unfortunately, if you've captured an airport with planes in it, you don't get to use those enemy aircraft. This is a feature again I think should be considered and added to the game. The game's performance is pretty good. I was getting a solid 60 FPS and the loading times are also acceptably okay. I really did like the menu screens, and I also like the cutscenes, well, some of them anyway. The addition of the Unreal 4 engine graphics are very much welcomed, although it's not an official continuation of the series. The modelling is good, really nice addition for a game like this. The animations are also very good and they're quite fun to watch. But, and there are quite a few buts, after a while I found that you just start skipping the lovely animations. I'm not sure why exactly, just to speed things up I guess. Everything's taking too long. I don't do it all the time by the way, and it is possible to skip the travel and just watch the battle aspect. Unfortunately, the game is very unstable at the moment. It's crashing at least once every hour, and in random places, suggesting logic bugs and likely memory leaks. They are working on it, but it does not have that polished, high-end quality feel at the moment. Maybe they are still learning their craft, I don't know. There are a lot of bugs in the game as well. Some of them small, some of them huge. And also, the auto game saves I think are a little too often. 21 an hour seems a bit much. Now that might not sound much, it's approximately 1 every 5 minutes. But maybe if the game overwrote the previous game save each time, it would be okay. But at the moment it's just adding a new one, which is getting a bit stupid. It's taking up a lot of hard drive space and I'm not sure it's the right way in order to process. That being said, the restart round button is constantly greyed out, so that's not an option. And maybe this many saves approach is their way of temporarily fixing the problem rather than actually solving the problem. I must say I'd score this game quite highly on both realism and on fun. It is very detailed and very realistic in that sense. It even has Hitler in it.
General Franco has raised an uprising against the communist regime in Spain. I believe it is necessary to help him. This operation will not only strengthen the economic power of the Reich, but will also provide an opportunity to test new types of weapons. A quick victory will certainly strengthen our position in the global political scene, but this is not our main goal. Unfortunately, the international situation does not allow us to intervene openly. Therefore, volunteering corps will deploy in Spain under your...
Perhaps it should actually be in German with subtitles. I suspect maybe I might have liked that approach better than this. There is a lot of historical and especially historical political aspects which have been applied, and that does a lot for the immersion sense.
According to the German-Soviet non-aggression pact, the Red Army must occupy Lviv and Brest. However, the Führer will be happy if, due to a successful offensive, our troops got a little carried away and would occupy these cities before the Communists. Do not be afraid of a clash with the Red Army. An agreement between our countries excludes this possibility. Later, we can give those territories back, but on our terms.
And I played this game happily for hours, mostly learning the game and getting my butt kicked, but still enjoying it nonetheless. The modelling of military units especially impressed me, as did the attention to detail in the cutscenes. The AI is challenging, very tough at times, and for me, that's great. You will need to figure out a way in, find their weak side, and exploit it. And this is exactly what is needed for a game like this. I must say, I'm glad to see that all the text in the game is actually spoken. So many cheap development teams skimp out on this, and that just totally destroys immersion. However, the overall audio in this game is pretty poor, to be honest. At this price, I would expect a lot better. Explosions and vehicle audio is okay, but not great. And some of the voice acting is really good, I mean totally authentic, but most of it is not, and some of it I just find hilarious.
In order to proceed, you need to establish control over the following key strategic points. Las Ventas. To ensure further advance, take over the Republican supply depot. Brunet. Taking this important transport junction will allow you to possess a useful airfield close to Madrid. While in Madrid, capture the city's airport, the railroad station, and the main supply depot of the Republican Army.
This really does need to be improved, or the price needs to be adjusted. You're basically paying the high price in return for very poor audio quality. The in-game music is okay as well, but it's really nothing to get excited about. It's familiar and it's acceptable. There are a small number of graphical settings available, some of which, I'll be honest, I've never heard of before, but noticeably and notably, there's no VSync option, and as a result I had quite a lot of screen tearing. You cannot rebind keys, and the game does not work with anything other than keyboard and mouse. For the most part, the controls do work okay. I did have one or two issues with trying to click on one thing and accidentally clicking on another because they sort of overlap each other. And I also found that getting the unit which I clicked on to stay active was a little annoying at times. It would often stick with the previous unit whilst it was trying to finish an animation and so on. That being said, the UI is pretty good overall. It's not that intuitive. It's going to take you some time to learn what is what and where everything lives. And some of the UI control decisions could be more user-friendly in my opinion, like double-clicking in order to buy, for example, which doesn't currently exist, or clicking off of a window in order to close it, so you don't have to go up and click on the X like we did back in the 1980s. I know, this is like mobile compatibility gone mad, but this is an area that could be improved. It's not an easy thing to get right, so I'm not really complaining about it, it's just an observation. I would like to see the ability to fine-tune your experience better though. For example, I'd like to be able to lock down to either 3D or the overhead view. I'd like even more controls than that though. I'd like to say that whilst I'm watching in 3D, I want to see the battles, but I don't want to see the travelling between one place to another. Now you can do this at the moment by double clicking, but it's a bit temperamental and sometimes you won't get to see the battle animation at all. Because the maps are quite big and there are often quite a lot of units on the battlefield, getting lost is pretty easy or confused. Being able to group units would be great. For example, if you pressed and grouped a unit under the number 1, just by pressing 1 would flick between the units in that unit. That would work pretty well. I think it would work better than the current system where you have every single unit randomly grouped together in the bottom of the menu. You can't even search this or organise it or anything. With the price tag of over £20, I think this needs to be a bit better. So this game has lots of depth. There are a lot of units to enjoy, many tactics that you can employ, there are upgrades and different approaches. It's just fun, it's challenging, it's a strategy game, it's like chess, but with World War II elements to it. The maps are okay. I wouldn't say they were overly special, but they do get better with each one and bigger as well. There's no skirmish mode, which is a bit of a shame, but also there's no local multiplayer or online multiplayer. Now, maybe they just think there's not going to be enough players to justify an online aspect to the game, which, okay, I can see that being a problem. But even local multiplayer is missing, and like I say, no skirmish mode at all. You might just want to have a quick game and not play an entire campaign. And at the moment, you can't reload a level, so you have to reload a game that you've saved previously. It's all a bit sticky and horrible. I'm glad to see that the game does have some modding available. Now, as far as I can ascertain, it's only around the UI at the moment and tweaking the power-ups and the special abilities that units have. But hopefully that will expand into more areas, and I'd love to see some maps and a skirmish mode being added to this game. They suggest that if you completed everything in the game first time out, there'd be over 40 hours of gameplay available. Now, there is an in-game tutorial. There's not much to say about it really. It's good, but it's brief. It does enough to get you started, and then it's a bit kind of, well, go and work it out yourself. You do occasionally get additional info whilst you're playing, but often that turns up unexpectedly, and as soon as you click on your next unit in order to create your next move, then all of that information disappears. It's okay, but again, it could be better.
Choose an infantry unit. Capture the station. Excellent. Now, our heavy unit.
Just to sum things up then, the graphics and the modelling of the military units are excellent. A really nice feature. All the menus are great, and I love the cutscenes. I really think this is a step forward for this type of genre. Everything about it is positive. The performance is good. I'm getting good 60 FPS. The graphics look fine. The gameplay and the new depth of strategy that they've introduced and included, I think, is wonderful and very much a bonus for this game. With the issues that I've mentioned, I think the price is a bit too high. Maybe £15 would be the sweet spot. I'd say the audio is rather poor, especially some of the voice acting. And obviously at the moment we have lots of bugs and lack of stability. They are working on this. They have got a lot of things that they're trying to fix and a lot of stuff they want to do in the future. So in time, this shouldn't be an issue anymore. It's really good fun to play at the moment, even with the bugs, but obviously it can get quite annoying. And also, there's no skirmish mode or online/local multiplayer capacity. It would be really nice to have this. I'd love to take on a human playing this game rather than the AI all the time. But overall, definitely recommend this game. Even though the price is too high, that's something you'll have to decide yourself. Is it worth it? As far as the game goes, I really like it. I'm a big fan of this genre anyway, and playing this was a huge amount of fun. I could spend hours playing this game. It's a brilliant type of game if you're into this type of thing. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Till next time. Goodbye. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video today. I really appreciate you coming along and taking the time to do that. I want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you who watched this video today. Special big thank you to our Patreons and supporters on Twitch. But everybody who comes and watches, you all count. You are all part of this. And I thank you so much. If you hit that like button, I will like you twice as much. Even more than that, perhaps. It is for you guys that I make these videos, so it matters to me a huge amount if you enjoy watching them, and if you don't, you need to tell me. So thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, until next time, goodbye for now.